What is a pet trust? This is the question that we're going to address. I'm Sarah Siedentopf. I'm an estate planning attorney and a dog owner and a all fluffy animal lover. The first thing to think about is it's just like a people trust, except that the beneficiary of the trust, aka the individual that gets to use the stuff in the trust, is a pet. So we are going to have a trustee. That is the person who is in charge of the money, who will be, writing those checks. Nobody writes checks, but making those payments to the vet, buying the dog food, doing all of the things to take care of the pet. And then the beneficiary is the pet. So this is super similar to a people trust. You can set it up as part of a larger trust. You can set it up as its own particular trust, and you can also set it up as a little subtrust in your will, so as a clause that some amount of money will be set aside and some person will be the trustee managing it for the benefit of your pets. And then at the end of your trust, there's likely to be some money left over because, let's face it, we all love our pets. And if you're setting aside money, you want to set aside enough. And so we tend to overestimate because we don't want to run out. And so there's likely to be some money left over. And that's where you choose a beneficiary after your pet. And that could be, the Humane Society. It could be one of your children. It could be really anyone you want it to be. It could be split between 100 different people if you would like to do that much typing. But basically, we set aside some money, set up a trustee who takes care of the pet, and then if anything is left over, it's given to whatever person or entity you want it to go to. So very much like a people trust, and I love to work on these. So if you got questions about this, please give me a call, and also please feel free to comment. Thank you. I'm Sarah Siedentopf. I'm an estate planning attorney in Atlanta, Georgia, and we work with a lot of pet lovers, and so this is something that we run into on a fairly regular basis, is the question of, I would like a caretaker to move into my house to take care of my pets after I pass away. Do I need some kind of contract? If I want to make sure that my pets are not going to a shelter, there's not someone specific that they're going to, I want somebody to come into the house and take care of them, have them, continue to live where they have always lived. No, you don't need a contract. Usually in this situation, what we are thinking about is a trust. And we specify in the trust, we put your house in the trust, and so then whoever is the trustee is in charge of this. And this does not mean that the person you want feeding your cats has to be the trustee of your trust. It does mean that the trustee of your trust is going to be in charge of, paying for the cat food and, paying any expenses of this person, and if you've decided that they should get paid for their time, making those payments as well. So it can be a separate person and often a list of people who might be available to take care of your pets in the home, and that can be a different person than is the trustee in charge of your money and your assets. A trust is better than just a contract. The benefit of a contract would be sort of in addition to it. If you talk to somebody and you wanted to come to an agreement ahead of time about how much they were getting paid for this, you could totally have that and have that as part of your estate planning. But if all you did was, have a contract with someone for, their services and didn't have your house set up in a trust, didn't have those other instructions in the trust, it's probably not going to work out. So it's not sufficient just to have a contract with the person who would take care of your pets. It needs to be, part and parcel of your other, full estate planning to make sure that resources and your house stay available for your pets. Making provisions for pets in your will. That's what we're here to discuss today. I'm Sarah Siedentopf. I am a dog owner. I'm also an estate planning attorney and probate attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. So making pet provisions in your will. The first thing to think about is it a gift, an outright gift, or do we want to do a pet trust? And the pet trust doesn't have to be a standalone document. It can be in your will, so it can be, basically a clause in your will. But the difference is if I give you some money outright and I say, take care of my dog, I will my dog to you, as well as $5,000, because I'm thinking this is a big job, there will be vet bills, I want him to have good food, all of this stuff. You can keep the money and give my dog away. That is legal. Obviously, I'm not going to leave my dog to anyone who I believe would do that, but it is worth knowing that it is a gift and does not require and cannot require the person to keep the animal. On the other hand, if we make it a trust and put someone in charge of that money, then we can say that this trust, this money here in this pot, is being used for the care and maintenance of my animal, it's being used for vet bills, it's being used for good food, it's being used to pay money to the person keeping the animal as a thank you because I really appreciate the role you're taking on. So it is very important to consider the difference there and figure out which one you want to go with, because of course the gift, we've discussed the risk of the gift. On the other hand, if you're doing the trust, somebody's got to be in charge of it. It doesn't wrap up quite as quickly, so things are a little bit lengthier. Then, how much? Whether or not you're giving it in a flat gift versus a trust, you have to think about how are we calculating what we're giving. And it could be a flat amount. The number that works best for you, but it could be $5,000, it could be $20,000, it could be $500. Whatever makes sense to you, a flat gift, thank you for taking care of my beloved pet. Another thing that I've had clients do is come up with an age range and say, my pet will probably live, 15 years, and I want the executor of my will to take into account how old the pet already is, and then multiply the leftover years. If the pet is 10, we're going to assume it's going to live 5 more years, multiply that number by, $2,500 a year, and that's the amount of money that I want the person who's taking that pet to get. I've certainly also had people with the trusts who want to just say, I want the pet taken care of for as long as I live, so every year the trustee should use X amount of money, and then whatever's left goes to somebody else, to a charity, to wherever it is you want it to go, because we have to set aside this money, and whatever doesn't get used over the pet's life has to go somewhere after that. So there are all kinds of ways of figuring out how much you want to leave for your pet. But first you have to figure out, is it a flat out gift or are we leaving it in trust? So I love to do estate planning that takes care of pets. So if you've got more questions about this, please give me a call. And also, I love to hear your comments as well. Thank you. Should I leave money to the person that I am leaving my pets with after I die? I'm Sarah Siedentopf. I'm an estate planning attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. And yeah, I often think this is a great idea. If we're giving a pet, we are giving a responsibility. Pets cost money. If you have the funds available, that is an awesome idea. How much you want to give is very much up to you. You can, think about, life expectancy of the pet and do a yearly amount. You can do a, small gift, a large gift. You could do it outright. You can do it in trust where somebody else is in charge of the money and whatever's left over goes somewhere else, as opposed to outright that is a gift to this person and they get to use it however they want, regardless of whether they need it or use it for your pet. But yes, if you have the funds available, a gift eases that transition for them. They've probably got supplies and changes they need to make. Always a good choice. And if you have a pet that you think might be going, to a shelter or something like that, if you leave some money we can, often have it be a donation to a better rescue who is, more likely to take good care of your pets and find them a good home. Just know that when you are leaving a gift to a specific person, not in trust, but just a specific gift, my dog to my sister and, $5,000 to her, she gets to keep that money even if she gives the pet to someone else. So that would be the benefit of the trust if you have questions about how that money would actually be spent. But in general, don't take money from your children that you don't have to give. But if you have the money, it's always a kind and appreciated gesture to give some, thank you money for the fact that you're going to be changing your life, and I appreciate it. I want to leave some money for my pets after I pass away to make sure they're properly taken care of. Is there a way to calculate that and figure out how much I need to leave? I'm Sarah Siedentopf. I'm an estate planning and probate attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. And this is a question I get fairly regularly because, we work with a lot of pet owners, pet lovers. So how do you go about deciding how much to give? And no, there is not a great calculation that I'm aware of that you can always plug in. But the first thing that I think about when I'm working with clients is who is getting the pets. And if you say, they're definitely going to my sister, she's financially stable, it's not going to be any difficulty on her to pay vet bills, something like that. You don't necessarily have to give anything, but you can easily choose a flat number and say, okay, $5,000 per pet, or $2,000 per pet, or something that is a chosen number, not exactly related to what you assume their care is going to be, but more as a thank you, I realize this will cost you money. I've also had clients who say, we think that, this type of animal has a yearly age expectancy of, say 15, and we would like to have, $2,500 per year that they are under that age. So if I pass away, my dog is 10, we've got, a 5-year life expectancy, then we'd like to give, $2,500 a year for, usually I encourage a lump sum, so a calculation, because we don't want to keep an estate open, holding on to money, just, paying for pet care in tiny drips, if that's the only reason. But that's another way of looking at it, and it can often be, if you really want to think about it that way, figuring out, okay, how much do I pay for pet food? How much do I pay for vet bills? And maybe, index it a little for inflation and assume there will be a few more vet visits as your pet ages. But those are the two most common ways that people look at it. And then, of course, I said, we start by looking at, the financial situation of the person who's getting the pets. If you're giving them to someone who does not have the same financial stability, maybe you want to give more to make sure that your pet is taken care of, and maybe you want to set it up in a pet trust because the outright gift is an outright gift. And if they don't use it on taking your pet, to the vet, and they don't use it on buying the good quality pet food, they don't have to. So if you are concerned that your pet be taken care of, and that there be financial resources, it's, not an answer to the calculation, but we can set up a pet trust. We have somebody over it saying, giving out the money, saying this is, for this pet. And then at the end, if we've, say we've put aside, $15,000, $20,000 for this pet who, didn't live that long, and we've got $10,000, $12,000 left over, then it goes wherever you say it goes, to your other beneficiaries, to a charity, and you don't have to worry about an exact calculation. You can sort of round up. I'm always happy to hear from, pet owners about how they've thought about these things, because we are always, trying to figure out the best way for people. But those are the ways that I tend to think about it. If you've got questions, I'd love to hear from you, and please like and subscribe.